We're going to call the meeting to order at 3 o'clock. Please stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, commissioners, please turn on your microphones. And approval of the agenda for today.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda for July 5th, 2022.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Travis? Aye.
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 Motion has been approved. And approval of the minutes from the June 7th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. Are there any changes or corrections? If there are none, I'm open to a motion.
I move we approve the minutes of the June 2nd meeting.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from June 7th, 2022. Gardner?
Aye.
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 Aye. Minutes are approved. We have no unfinished business, so we will move right into our new business, MS 22-003 Brady Builders Minor Sub. Matt?
Good afternoon. We are requesting a 3-lot subdivision. It's currently 2 lots located on Grandview Avenue, just west of Canyon Creek Ranch. We are adding 10 feet to the smaller lot, which fronts Grandview, and then creating a stem lot or flag lot of 1.14 acres out of the remaining 8 acres. All utilities are adjacent, water, city water, and Fremont Sanitation are adjacent in Grandview Avenue. There is a note about the floodplain because at the very south end, there's about 10 square feet of floodplain that just kind of comes on the property where the irrigation ditches actually dump out of the property. So we are showing that on there. So really no structure or anything will be impacted by a floodplain in the future. We did ask for a waiver of the required floodplain, flood study, drainage report. The engineer did review it and did recommend that we wait until the time of building permit to do a drainage study based on where the structures will be built since these lots are so large. Other than that, if you have any questions.
We'll go to Micah and get the staff report, and then if we have any questions, we'll call you back up.
Thank you, sir. So, referring agencies' comments, the Department of Transportation stated that driveway access permits will be required for each lot. Fremont County project engineer said that they did review the items provided by the county. The required drainage plan, map, and report has been addressed with a request that the drainage requirements be waived based on the following response. The site slopes gently from north to south. It is well drained and previously irrigated pasture. There are no drainages or erosion areas and no spot drainages. In their professional opinion, that a drainage detention area would not be appropriate for the lot size and site slope. The additional of the one residence will be insignificant and not increase the historic discharge of a measurable amount. A waiver for the requested report is requested. So at this time, our department does recommend approval with the following conditions: that all updated title commitments be required before recording of the subdivision plat. Drainage plan and report recommends that we do a note be on the plat stating that at time of development, the drainage plan and report is required. Address assurance applications applied for at the time of development or each lot. And driveway access applied for and approved at the time of development. We also recommend the waiver of the drainage plan and report.
So it's not a waiver, it's more of a deferral until time of building?
I would, yes,
Can we change the language on that?
Most
It's not,
likely, yes.
we're not waiving it, right?
not waiving it, you are, it's for the,
Okay.
yes.
And that would be, excuse me, picked up by your office of the drainage, requiring the drainage plan and reviewing it at that time?
At the, for when they apply
Yes.
for the development through the building department.
Okay.
Commissioners, any other questions for Matt?
Was this the, I'm trying to remember from the water side because I didn't see the water report attached to this. Was this the one where the big lot already has an existing house on it?
There aren't any structures on any of these lots.
Okay,
They built a new house just to the east of the entrance to these, so that might be the one you're thinking of. They built a big house and a barn,
gotcha.
and this is just all west of that.
Yeah, understood.
So-
Yeah, I don't remember there being an issue with it.
And Kim did review it and give us the okay on it, so.
Okay, I just didn't see the report, so I wanted to make sure.
Okay, but you do have that now, right? From the city? That
Yeah,
just wasn't in our
the
packet?
city engineer reviewed it and gave us the okay on it.
Where's the city boundary, right on that road?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
Where's the city-county boundary, right on that road?
Well, there's no, it's not close to us, but we're supplied by the city water, and so that's why the city's involved.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying, is this on the very edge of the county where it joins the city?
No, we're quite a ways from the city limits.
Okay. Pretty straightforward.
I have nothing further. If nobody has any more questions, I'm open to a motion.
Okay. Well, I will make a motion, we approve MS 22-003 with drainage requirements waived until time of development. Can't read my own writing here. Driveway access at time of development, probably.
And address assurance. At time of development. And an updated title commitment before recording of the subdivision plat.
Okay. That's my motion.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve MS 22-003. Travis?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Next item on our list is SRU 21005 Observer Ranch Campground. Mr. Moore?
Good afternoon, Keith Moore, RNG Architect. We're here to represent Ben and Kat on this Observer Ranch Campground and Learning Center Travel Trailer Campground, approximately 73 acres, consisting on 2 lots, Lot 1 and Lot 2, off of County Road 123. We've been through numerous rounds of comments with your planning department and Carrie on this, and have I think come to a good conclusion that everything is in compliance with a few things that Micah has brought to our attention in this report today that we're here to answer questions on and see how we can address them and move forward if there's any concerns from the planning commission.
Okay,
Good? So
we'll go to Micah and then
let him.
ask our questions.
I don't know why my mic's not working. So this proposed location is at 4509 County Road 123. It will include 33 RV sites, 6 cabin sites, 12 combination RV and cabin sites, an office support building, watchman's quarters, and a park support facility that includes a recreational vehicle storage area, 30 spaces. A maintenance building, pump house, and storm shelter. So, comments that we received from referring agencies, from the Department of Transportation, they stated that there have been a big change of impact going from a 26 a day trip up to a 125 day trip. In the application, the fire protection plan, they mentioned a paved access that is 32 feet wide, so there should be no issues with the access to the constructions, as the department would like to have the opportunity to comment at the annual review. The project engineer stated that they did review it. A draft stormwater drainage analyst report only covers the initial phase of the project in Lot 1. The drainage report should be expanded to include all areas of development included in the SRU project. Additionally, the drainage report should address surface flooding from 8 Mile Creek. The Zone A floodplain boundary for 8 Mile Creek is, as presented on the submitted documents, does not appear to be accurately reflect the National Flood Hazards Layer data that is available from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Hydraulic analysts from 8 Mile Creek may be necessary to adequately show the limits of flooding from 8 Mile Creek. It appears that items such as roadways, on-site wastewater treatment systems, and electrical transformers may be located within the 8 Mile Creek floodplain. Additional analysis should be completed to confirm these elements are located outside the floodplain. No drainage related, but we did notice that several turning radies and a lack of turnaround may be problematic for large RVs and fifth wheel vehicles. This is particularly noted on Robitelli Road. Based on our review, we recommend that the above comments be addressed prior to the SRU approval. And then from the Department of Public Health and Environment, the Fremont County Building Department and Department of Environmental Health has reviewed the submittal information for the Observer Ranch Campground under required substantial submittal attachments. Section 3, item number 4, sanitation documents. The applicant is proposed to use an office manager apartment and support building. The building appears to contain all the necessary sanitation facilities that will be required for the operations of this travel trailer park campground. Although these submittals drawings are just conceptual and not detailed drawings, they appear to be in compliance with the Fremont County OWTS regulations. Please be advised that the State of Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment regulations for campgrounds and recreational areas shall be enforced also. This department has an opportunity to review the revised engineer OWTS design for the Observer Ranch Campground. After our review of the submittal documents, Fremont County Environmental Health Department finds that the separation distance between the OWTS appears to be adequate. At this time, Planning and Zoning Department does approve the SRU permit with the following contingencies. Revise the site photometric site plan to include solar barriers at the walkways to open spaces, dog runs off of Robitelli, am I saying that correctly? Robitelli Road, and the walkways to recreational area 1 to provide safe access to the recreational amenities. Submit a stormwater drainage analysis and drainage report and plans to include all areas of the development. Adequately depict Zone A flood plan boundaries for 8 Mile Creek on the SRU site plan. If required by the Fremont County project engineer, the applicant should perform hydraulic and hydrodraulic analysis for 8 Mile Creek to adequately show the limits of flooding from 8 Mile Creek. Complete additional analysis to confirm roadways and on-site wastewater treatment systems and electronic transformers are not located in the 8 Mile floodplain.
So I have a question actually for Micah.
Yes.
Once they get the floodplain shown on there accurately,
Yes, sir.
is that going to change the plat dramatically? If they're moving transformers and moving roads, is this something we can even approve?
I guess it just depends, because I don't know how much of a change it's going to show, especially to where the locations are right now on the plat, to where they're gonna need to be. So, I would
Pull up
imagine it would be.
Page 2, I think page 2 shows a little more detail of the one area that is potentially in conflict. Up at the top, upper right corner. The building's not shown, but it's up in the top, upper right corner. There is a pump house and a transformer in that upper green area that's 8 foot above the floodplain. As we currently show it, Amanda Tincho's our civil engineer, and the floodplain that we represent on here was our depiction of the current floodplain map, but we'll verify that and make sure, but that was the latest information that we got off the FEMA site was what's shown on here, but we can double check that to make sure that, that is correct. But we have one little pump house and transformer that sits there where our well is going to be, and the base of that elevation is 8 foot above the floodplain and 14 foot above the roadway down at 123, so which is 10 foot above the floodplain, so we don't anticipate having any issue on that corner. All the other buildings are over 100 foot away from the floodplain, even if it's slightly off, we're still way a ways. And then we only have one OWTS affluence area. None of the systems are in the floodplain, but we do have one of the OWTS shown there that does overlap the floodplain, the 100-year floodplain slightly.
So, Mr. Chair, if any of these are within the floodplain, as long as they move them and get them outside the floodplain before anything's recorded, then I would say yes, you should be able to still approve it to go to the planning, to the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying what was involved in the.
So, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
So you've seen the staff analysis report.
Yes, sir.
And you've seen their summary and recommendations wherein they list the 8 requirements for that shall be completed prior to the special review use permit recordation, including the updating the site plan, stormwater drainage analysis. You have seen all of those?
Correct.
And you're satisfied with those?
The only one that's a little unclear to us is the, what could affect our having to hydronically study 8 Mile Creek, because we don't know what would be involved with that. So, but that's kind of a, if required by, the city staff. Amanda, you can speak to the city staff that you've been dealing with as far as they've already approved our drainage.
Sure. Relative to the floodplain, all the item, I'm not sure exactly which site plan they're referring to that shows or that depicts the floodplain incorrectly. Everything that I checked, we are reflecting it correctly. I went back to FEMA, I went back to stream stats, I went back to a lot of different sources for FEMA, and the items, the transformer, the road, the OWTS leach field, those are not located within the floodplain. I personally don't see a reason why we would need to run an entire hydrologic flood study for 8 Mile Creek when none of the improvements are located within the 100 year floodplain boundary as FEMA has depicts it.
Thank you for clarifying that.
But as far as, we're going to update our photometrics to show the bollards in those areas. That's not an issue at all. Those were last minute additions of trails to those areas from Carrie's latest round of review, but we'll get those bollards on there. We're trying to minimize the site lighting. They want to keep it as much natural light as possible, so we're just using bollards. We won't have high overhead lights on that, but if that's a requirement, then we'll definitely update that plan prior to our approvals on that, so.
Can you point out which road they were talking about that does not have a turnaround they were worried about?
On the upper part, I believe, I can pull that map up. Next page. Next page. Yes. The road comes through here from the lower lot, and so these just go up to larger single lots, so we don't really depict a roundabout or turnabout at the end of those roads. The FDP, the fire department reviewed our fire department plan. They didn't have a problem with it. It's right open space. It's not like open pine. They can turn around if we need to, show a cul-de-sac or at least a loop on the end of those. We can definitely accommodate that. We have plenty of ground. It's all just gravel roads. They're not paved roads.
So I've got a question for staff. So Mike, this says submitted stormwater drainage analysis and drainage report. The drainage report shall address surface flooding from 8 Mile Creek. Is that a county engineer requirement, or is that from your office?
That's from the engineer,
That's from the engineer.
yes.
And he felt that the
No, it's the first, he's asked, if it came from staff engineering, then it was the first we've heard of it, because Amanda had been working closely with the drainage. We can talk to him directly and find out in more detail if there's something he's missing or wanting.
and we have that report in our packet, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And have you seen the ICON report They're a contract engineering firm to the county. Have you seen the Icon Engineering report?
Amanda, did you get that? No, we have not.
Okay, this report is dated June 21st. And the particular comment we're talking about says, "We have reviewed the items provided by the county and had the following comments. The draft stormwater drainage analysis report only covers the initial phase of the project in Lot 1. The drainage report should be expanded to include all areas of development included in the SRU project. Additionally, the drainage report should address surface flooding from 8 Mile Creek."
Yeah, that's the only comment we've seen. We've not seen any other report, just that comment in Micah's right up here, so.
And right now, you're not clear what they're asking you to do there? Is that
Well, we
correct?
didn't do, so the upper lot, we did not do the drainage study. It was only on the lower lot because there's no permanent development up there on that. It's all gravel roads. If that's a requirement of the board that we get that, then we'll have to do that, obviously. But the flooding for, I don't know how you even address the flooding on 8 Mile Creek.
So there's no structures.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of, FEMA map addresses that, so we don't know what other.
So there's no structures on that portion?
No.
There's there electric and?
Well, the only structure on it is, that's where we're showing the storm shelter up on the upper left-hand corner there, but it's an underground storm shelter.
Those are RV spaces?
RV
That's gonna have
spaces
your,
and-
on-site wastewater and all that?
Right.
So that stuff's gonna have to be shown for stormwater, I mean, if that's in.
Right. So we have, and those are kind of more open lots, we have a typical kind of what could be built on those, but it's at this point unknown exactly if it's a, you know, it's on page, kind of show what our typical lots are gonna be. And in your packets, if you look at, the typical cabin lot. CP 113 that we provided, you can kind of see where there'd be a 1,500 square foot minimum or a little RV pad on that. So that's what we would include in our drainage report for that upper lot, lot 2 we call it.
So I guess just for clarity, sorry, lot 2, we're showing that there's RV sites and cabin sites that you're proposing, correct?
Yes. Because at this point, they don't know if it'll be an RV pad or if they'll have a little rental cabin on it. So,
Gotcha. One of them.
right. Yeah, and in Micah's report, I think we had 11 and 5 up on that lot, 11 potential cabin and RV sites, so. And we'd take worst case scenario with any drainage report and say here's the development out on that.
And that is, correct me if I'm wrong, that would be stage 2 of this project on that northern half?
Northern half would be the kind of, we've kind of always internally called it phase 2, but we were wanting to come in and get everything kind of approved at once, because we're gonna start building from the lower campground north, so.
I guess, Micah, my question is on the hydraulic report also. I'm not sure what that entails. It sounds like they don't know what it entails.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure what it
Well,
entails either.
I didn't expect, I don't know how to address that one.
So I guess how I would look at it is, I think the biggest concern was that they're saying that the two maps don't match up. If they match up and it's okay, then I would imagine that they don't need to do that. I think the biggest concern is because in their report, it says that the two maps didn't match up, that they're concerned about the flooding from the 8 Mile Creek and what it can develop. And that's why they were requesting that. But I'm not even sure what that is.
Well, and also to have a drainage report done on lot 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Michael, would it be possible to have them verify which map they confirmed, and we'd make sure we're using the same map, I guess. It's always, you know.
Yeah, I think, you know, again, it's just like with a lot of these big projects. Site plans come in and come out, and it's hard to say which ones that they actually looked at the time. So, yeah, we could look that over again, but we'll make sure that it does match.
Okay.
Yeah, because everything on our side, we've double checked. We think we're matching, so.
And it does say if required, so,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
it does kind of waive it till,
Yes,
to the
sir.
project engineers
Exactly.
in the future, okay?
I would also note that we got notice from FEMA that they are remapping every drainage in the county over the next couple of years. And so those maps are likely going to change when they do their remapping. But they're embarking on a huge project to remap all the flood zones.
Could that adversely affect existing properties and projects? They back up and say you were not in a floodplain last week and you are this week?
Well, it'll be, you are next year.
Well, I understand, but, you know.
But no, it won't be retroactive.
Okay.
But moving forward, residents who may not have been required to have flood insurance may be required in the future, and vice versa. Those who are removed from the floodplain will no longer have to do that, depending on financing and mortgages and such.
Yes, we've got to move Red Mansion. I don't know if you heard that. but-
Any further questions, gentlemen?
Yeah, I got another on water. So you're serving with 2 wells,
Correct.
well over the 25 people per day. So are you guys going to be required to have an operator on staff, like a community water system registered through the state? Have you guys done much work looking into that?
Not required as far as we know with current status. If we get to a point where we have to have, we get the gallons of storage, then we have to have a system in place for testing and all that. But
So the existing cisterns, are they going to be fire protection only, or are they going to be domestic as well?
they'll be domestic and fire.
So those are underneath that limit.
Right.
Do you have the size of those cisterns?
We haven't sized them yet we haven't got to that. We haven't, the wells, we haven't got our GPMs off the wells. All the permits have been in with the state and approved. But once we get the, you know, if we're pumping a gallon a minute or 100 gallons a minute, then we can size the cisterns accordingly.
Okay. Is that something we check on? You know, if it's a campground like this, whether it's required to be a water system or not? Is there any trigger that we have that we look at, whether they need to be or not?
Not locally, that would be through CDPHE.
Right, I mean, but do we require them to do it, or do we make sure about that, I guess is
No,
my
we can
question.
require that they check with the department.
Yeah.
Make that part of your recommendation moving forward.
Sure. And then how deep did your wells have to go? Do you know? off the top?
Don't know.
Yeah, so you got approved, but you haven't had to.
Between 500 and 600 feet.
Gotcha.
There was
Based
an,
upon what was done in that area, but
Okay,
we're estimating.
yeah.
understood.
Can we talk real quick about the waiver request for the parking lot surfacing? The county does not recommend we waive that. Can you show us, have her pull up the print and show us where you're talking about?
I believe the best map to look at that one is on CP05.
I'm Derek True, I'm with True North Construction out of Florence. To kind of address, and we can go ahead and just make our statement about that right now. It does say per section 5.3.2 of the FCCR, surfacing for all businesses or commercial off-street parking areas shall be graded and surfaced to control dust. So what we're asking for is basically a waiver to not do the concrete or asphalt portion of the parking areas because they're so insignificant versus the large gravel roadway systems that we have already through the campground. We want to retain much of the original topography, et cetera. Drainage is possible. I know staff recommends that it's going to be a better drainage system when we pave it in asphalt. With our OWTS systems, I disagree completely, but that's just our opinion on it. We want to keep them gravel. We are going to be paving and asphalting the handicap spaces as per the regulation as well. The other discrepancy with that is that basically staff had reported that all internal roadways, this is on page 5 of the staff report, all internal roadways are surfaced with 4 inches of gravel if asphalt or concrete requirements are waived by the board. We don't need to ask for a waiver for the roadways to be gravel, just for the parking spaces. So the way I understand it is that the commission, the board members don't have a comment over the roadway surfacing. I think there was a little bit of mix-up between the regulation versus what we were talking about is the actual parking spots of the campground, and I think that's what we need to address is basically that we're asking for a waiver to keep those gravel except for the handicap spaces as required, and that's where the disconnect is right there. Is the staff's asking for us to pave them for their reasons, and we're asking basically for a waiver from the board to not.
Okay, so we're talking about a parking space at the building, not?
We're talking about parking spaces around the campground, yes, sir.
Okay,
So there are parking
so
in front of the
handicap spots for campers?
There's going to be handicap spots in front of the support building. The main parking spaces are in front of the support building. What page is it?
It's on our, the new CP5, that one's the old
Okay.
submittal. So we had 13 spaces, I believe, or 8 spaces across the front of the support building. And this map doesn't show it, if you want to go back one map, please. I think it's the, thank you, right there. So this area here is what we're talking about. There's 2 handicap spots here, and there's 8 total spots. This is all gravel through here, so we didn't want to pave those, just the handicap spots right there.
Okay.
That's what that is.
So you are paving the handicap spots?
That's
Yes,
correct.
correct.
Yes, sir.
That are in front of the support building?
That's
Correct.
correct. We're just asking that we don't have to pave the rest of the parking that staff has want us to put into these plans. We're asking not to pave those spots.
That are adjacent to, I mean, all of them?
There's
in front of
parking
that
all
same
over,
building?
yeah, there's parking now. Now there's parking all over the place, so.
Because each spot has 2 spots, gravel spots in front of where they, a pad that they would park their RV on.
Okay,
And
but
those are gravel.
the 10 or 12 spots that are in front of that building, is that entire area paved?
No.
No,
Just the handicap spots?
just the handicap spot, yes. sir.
Correct.
And the what?
Sidewalks.
And the sidewalks, that's correct. Yes.
That was not clear.
Oh, yeah.
So a little clearer, Mark, Mr. Chairman, a little clearer view of what is intended. The 8 spaces in front of the building there, so a larger view of what you can see up there. So there's the handicap. and this will be-
Okay, so the proposal you're asking for is to pave just the 2 handicap spots and just gravel these, I would assume? Did you guys want to look at this?
Understood. And so you're just asking for a waiver from these on each side?
Correct.
Not all over, I mean, all over is already not just the ones on the side.
It's just, they are, yeah. This again.
Sidewalk in front. The driveway is all gravel.
Right.
How about the area in front of the porch? You show 2. Is that?
Ready to show it, sir? Those are landscape areas. So this is all the sidewalk. And those are 2 landscape areas in front of it.
Okay, so the sidewalk is gonna go in.
There's gonna be
And just a note, the parking, the handicap parking paving isn't out of the norm. Many of the developments within Fremont County have requested that that be the only portion paved. The Dinosaur Experience is a recent one up at the Gorge. Many of the developments have requested that and been granted the waiver of paving everything and doing that to where they only pave the handicapped parking, Skyline Steel, which we just did here last year.
That's right.
That exact same thing. So it's not out of the norm just to pave the handicapped spaces.
I was just clarifying because it's a little misleading on
Yeah,
our packet.
That's right.
And Matt, that's required under when the building department gets involved with this thing and they issue the building permit, that's under their jurisdiction, right?
Right, they'll review and make sure that the handicap spaces are paved,
Right.
and make sure all of that's taken care of, so.
Thanks, Matt.
Commissioners, any more questions?
I have a kind of a silly question. On-site manager can only be there for 90 days, right?
Right.
So what's the process there? I mean, do you just cycle in managers every 90 days? Yeah.
Yep.
Fair enough. Nothing else from me.
I'm open to a motion if nobody has any more questions.
Yeah, I would like to add just that little bit about the operator to make sure that, if required, they do have, they're following the proper regulations for CDPH&E.
Okay.
Yeah, just an if required thing. That's all right.
As a ninth contingency, can we add that?
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion, I think.
Yeah, it's a big one. Give it a shot.
Chair and commission members, I move that we approve SRU 21-005 with the 8 contingencies on pages 9 and 10 of the staff report listed, with the addition that the applicant verify and comply with CDPHE requirements for public water system operations, and that the waiver request for paving of non-handicap parking spaces be granted.
Did we delete item 4 or not about the hydrological survey of 8 Mile Creek? Where'd we end up with that?
I think because it was left it up to the county engineer.
It's if required.
If required,
Okay,
yes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's
I would
been,
just note that the engineering report said it may be required, not that it shall be required.
okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve SRU 21-005 Observer Ranch Campground with the contingencies that were noted and granting the waiver request for the parking paving,
For non-handicap parking.
non-handicap parking paving. Travis?
Aye.
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 So moved, it's been approved. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Item C, the revised ADU Amendment 17. Micah, do you want to walk us through what we're looking at here?
Yes, sir. Basically, we are requesting to revise the accessory development dwelling unit regulation. So what we're requesting is in 9.2 definitions that it be stricken that the ADU may also be located within the primary dwelling or attached to the primary dwelling. And then we also strike 9.3.3, a single-story ADU shall be no more than 14 feet in height to the peak of the roof. A two-story structure containing an ADU may be no more than 22 feet to the peak of the roof. ADUs may be allowed in two-story structures where the ADU is only on one level. The other level may not be part of the ADU. And then we would add, ADUs shall follow the development requirements of the zone district.
That covers everything.
Yes. And then 9.3.4, we strike that one bathroom be stricken from that. We are requesting that 9.3.13 also be stricken as a whole. An ADU structured or located within larger dwelling shall be exterior access. We also are requesting 9.3.15, strike business or commercial use of an ADU is prohibited. And 9.3.16, we would like to strike, and no more than 200 feet from any side of the primary dwelling. And we would like to add 9.4.2.5, floor plan of the ADU be added.
Can I ask what this stemmed from? Is this a request from people in the county or what?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's just making it a little bit easier for people to be able to add the ADUs onto their property. Some of them, we've come to realize it becomes a burden for some people to be able to do this.
Okay.
Are there many of these going in?
Yeah, how many would you say?
We probably have approved 7 of them since we started the ADUs.
Okay, well, that's good. And that's all in the county?
Yes, sir.
Not in town, yes.
And I've got a question for staff. So if you have a undeveloped piece of property and you're allowed to develop it and place a house or a house on the property, when do the requirements for having an address come in? Is that part of the Fremont County building codes or codes?
Apply for the building, right? They have to have that address when they apply for the building permits?
They have to have an address when they apply for the building permit?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so ADUs would be permitted, they would have to apply for building permits, and as part of that process, they would receive an address.
The
They would
The
have to have an
ADU
address before
The
they
ADU
can-
would fall under the address of the primary residence.
I know in the city that's not true.
It's what?
ADUs, we do need
Oh, I'm sorry. So for the ADUs, we'll just add the primary would be A and the ADU would be a B.
But there will still be an address
Yes.
requirement.
Yes, sir.
The reason I ask is because I know of a ADU that was developed in the city, within city limits, and it was an existing structure over a garage. It was improved, and when they improved it, they rented it out as an ADU. And as part of that process, the new renter went down to the post office and requested an address, and they skipped a step in the permitting process, causing a big logjam. So that's where my question is coming from. Where in the process does an ADU make sure they have an address and make sure that they understand that that comes from
Yes.
the county and not the post office.
Sure.
So when they apply for their ADU, we do a change of an address on the main house. So then the change of address would be whatever the address is with the A, and then we issue the new address as a B. So it's the same number address, but it's A and B. So the main one gets a change of address, the other one gets a new issuance of address.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
In paragraph 9.3.4, what's the rationale for removing the bathroom?
We only allowed one bathroom, and the first for the ADUs, and we have a lot of requests to have 2 bathrooms in the ADUs.
So right now, when you do an ADU, you can only have 1 bathroom.
So they're still required to have a bathroom?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
can that read at least one bathroom?
I was gonna say, what?
Yeah, I mean, just so they don't think they can get away with no bathrooms.
No more than 2 bathrooms.
Well, again, that's going to come through the building department, because the building department is going to require that.
They're gonna require a bathroom.
Yes.
Yeah,
Understood.
so it just reads as no more than 2 bathrooms.
But they could have 3 if they wanted.
I'm not sure what
Yes.
that accomplished, but.
Okay,
Yeah,
maybe you're handicapped or something.
understood.
Do you need a motion to change these? Or just say, go ahead?
So we just need approval so that it can, oh, it does?
Okay.
And this, if this is moved and approved, here Brenda, then it goes to the commissioners, is that correct?
And it will go to public hearing as well.
Public hearing as well.
One more question I have, if you don't mind. On 9.3.16, we're striking out no more than 200 feet from any side of the primary dwelling. I mean, is that to read then that the ADU can only go to the rear of the house 10 feet? No less than 10 feet from the, I mean, 10 feet now from the rear, so it cannot go to the side or front or anything like that? I mean, I'm just interpreting it that way. When I see the and no more than 200 feet from any side, that's giving them the option for a side of the house, where if it's only saying it can be behind the house, is that the way that that's being read, or?
So before it was, it needed to be within 200 feet behind the house.
Sure,
There's some that's kind of hard to do, so as long as they're putting it behind the house, you know, more than the 10 foot within for the fire distance
sure,
is what we're trying to.
yeah. But they still have the ability to build to the side of the house, not only to the rear, correct?
Yes, only in the
Yeah,
rear.
okay. I was just making sure, I was just kind of reading that in a funky way, I think.
Mhm.
It's just a requirement that it can't be within the 10 feet, but it doesn't,
Understood.
other than
Yeah.
that, it doesn't.
It's not saying that's the only way it can be. Yep, understood.
Well, if there's no more questions, I'm open to a motion to approve the ADU Amendment 17.
I will so move. And this is, what you say, 17?
And I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve ADU 17. Travis?
Aye.
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 Approved. And with that, we will